This Halloween, party with your favorite monsters during Halloween Horror Nights.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the fog with Wolfman Rob. I am Wolfman Rob. Appreciate you coming over here to hang out with me to talk Halloween Horror Nights, man. It is officially July as we are doing this show, which means it is a new month, which means, as I like to do when we get to a new month for these Halloween Horror Nights shows, I like to look back at the past, man, and see how the announcement trends have gone. So we're going to do that on this here episode. We're also going to talk two topics, man. We're going to talk about UOAP, that's Universal Orlando Annual Pass Holders, and Scream Early. We got an update on that from Universal. And we're going to talk the Fuel Girls, Nightmare Fuel. Give you a little bit of talking about that and see what's going on there. And then we'll get into those trends, man. And let's just, see where we're at with everything as well. So, again, appreciate you coming over here and hang out with me. As I like to always remind you, you matter, man. And let's go ahead and jump in to our first topic of today, and that is Universal Annual Pass holders being able to scream early or not. This is something that has been pretty much discussed since the Scream Early tickets were released earlier this year when they released all the other tickets, or the majority of the other tickets, still waiting for multiple night tickets and all that stuff. But the Scream Early changed to where you can now get in there at 2 p.m. And there's select houses, 3 select houses that'll be open at that point in time if you get that ticket and you have admission to the park and all that stuff. So the question started rising at that point is like, does this still cover for Universal Annual Pass holders? Are they still allowed to scream early like they have been able to in the past and all that stuff? And a lot of people are saying, what's going to happen? I, from the beginning, have always been like, yeah, of course you can still do that. Why would they take that away? Right. And when I booked my hotel reservation for my trip to Halloween Horror Nights this year, I asked the person I was speaking with the question of, can I still scream early as a Universal Annual Pass holder? And back then they said, yes, you absolutely can do that. It's going to be just exactly the same as it was before. It's just starting at 2 p.m. now is the main difference. And then months went by and people are still wondering and questioning and all that stuff about what can Universal Annual Pass holders do this or not. So over the past couple days and with announcements going on and all that stuff, somebody did write a question and Universal Orlando Resort responded to it, and I got the screenshot here saying, hello, to enjoy Stay and Scream this year, guests must have both daytime admission to Universal Studios Florida and Halloween Horror Nights admission for the same date. Guests with valid annual passes and Halloween Horror Nights admissions will also be able to enjoy Stay and Scream. Somebody asked a question again. So I have an annual pass and an HHN ticket. I can attend to the houses at 2 p.m. ? And Universal Orlando responded saying all eligible Stay and Scream guests must pick up a wristband in the park on the day of their visit, which will allow them to experience select haunted houses as early as 2 p.m. So let's go back. Guests with valid annual passes and Halloween Horror Nights admissions will be able to enjoy Stay and Scream, which is the way it's always been, right? And it's just further confirmation even sooner, and that was on June 30th, or that was released, so just a couple days ago. So if you're wondering or worrying about it, you can still do Stay and Scream as an annual pass holder as long as valid park admission, which is your annual pass. So as long as your annual pass is, active, you've paid your payment, and all that stuff. And so as long as your pass is active, doesn't have any blackout dates or anything like that, and you have your valid HHN admission, be it single day ticket, single night ticket, or one of the multi-night passes that are sure to come at some point in time, you're good to go, as you've always been able to go. So hopefully that helps clear things up for you. Again, Universal Annual Pass holders, Orlando, are able to do Stay and Scream at 2 p.m. You don't have to buy the thing as long as you have your Horror Nights admission already. Again, single day ticket, multi-night passes, whatever it be. Valid park admission, no blackout dates, HHN ticket, whatever it may be, you're good to go. You're good to go, man. Not whatever it may be. I know there's other HHN tickets that you have to also buy a Halloween Horror Nights admission ticket. You know what I mean? If you have your ticket for Halloween Horror Nights itself and your valid annual pass, you're good to go, man. So nothing to worry about Stay and Scream wise. Do it like you did it in the past, man. It's just, earlier than it used to be. It's now at 2 p.m. So you get there, you show your HHN ticket, you show your annual pass, they give you your wristband and off you go. We don't know where the houses are at. We don't know any of that stuff yet. It could be all three up front. It could be one up front, one in the back, one in the very back. It could be one up front, one of the back areas, and one behind Simpsons. We don't know. We have no idea what the houses are or where they're going to be located or which three are going to be available or anything like that. We just have the basic information right now, but hopefully that helps clear that up for you. Now, Fuel Girls, Nightmare Fuel has been the show at Halloween Horror Nights for the last several years, with a lot of people who love it, a lot of people who are not fans of it, and all that stuff. But the primarily positive reaction, seemingly, for the Nightmare Fuel every single year. But there's been talk and a belief that it would not be returning this year. And nothing has been officially announced by any means that it would or will not be returning this year. There's been no real indication as to what the show or shows would be at this year's event. And a lot of people took it to their belief that the Nightmare Fuel would not be returning this year because the Fuel Girls announced a scheduled tour, and part of that tour takes place in October. And like, well, Halloween Horror Nights is October. They're not going to be here this year. There's going to be a new show. It may be right. Maybe there is going to be a new show. Maybe they'll be going away from Nightmare Fuel. We don't know. They haven't announced anything. What I will say about that is, yes, they did announce tour dates, and they do have shows going on in October. Looks like there's nothing going on in September. There's nothing going on in October, and yes, Halloween Horror Nights is, of course, running during October. So I can understand the confusion there. What I would like to say is that the Fuel Girls, the talent of the Nightmare Fuel show, have multiple groups of talent. And even during Halloween Horror Nights last year, they still had part of their talent doing shows in other countries and all that stuff. There's multiple artists within the Fuel Girls. And so just because they have announced a tour that will be going on during October, that doesn't mean that all of the Fuel Girls will be on that tour again, because again, there's multiple talent, there's multiple areas, they have multiple teams doing their stuff and all that stuff. So it's not an automatic guarantee that there won't be a Nightmare Fuel show at Halloween Horror Nights this year, but also not a guarantee that there won't be. There's no will or won't. We have no idea. We won't know until it's announced. So have patience on that, and we'll see what actually ends up happening as far as that goes. But don't jump the gun yet. There's no for sure that Nightmare Fuel is happening or not happening. We have no clue. Again, we won't know anything until it's absolutely announced, by all means. And I don't know what speculation maps are saying. I don't look at those things, so I have no idea. But just based on that and seeing what I've seen people talking about online on the social medias, I thought I'd clear that up for you a little bit there. Just because they're doing shows in October doesn't mean it's not happening at Halloween Horror Nights, because there's multiple teams that do the things that they do there with the Nightmare Fuel stuff and the Fuel Girls and all that. All right, so there you go. Those are the two topics I want to talk about before we jumped into July announcement trends. Now, if you're new to the show, welcome in. I'm a freaking goofball, and I like to have fun talking Halloween Horror Nights. Hopefully, you have fun with me, man. What I like to do each month at the start of every month during the Halloween Horror Nights run here, I like to go back about 5 years and see how the announcement trends work. See if there's any trends we can pick up on, see how they announce things over the last 5 years and all that stuff, and just get a gauge of if we can pick up on something. Sometimes it works out very well, sometimes doesn't, a little bit, but it kind of it's just a fun thing to do. It's a fun thing to do on the show, and I like to have fun on the show. So before we jump into those trends, let's look at where we're at right now with Halloween Horror Nights. We know our dates for the event. We know that some tickets are out. Some of the special stuff's out. We got the single night ticket. We've got the Scream early ticket we talked about. You've got your premium Scream night ticket out. RIP ticket might be out as well, but we've got select tickets that are out and available. They've been available for a good bit now and all that stuff. The multi-night tickets have not been announced, but as we'll be going through these trends just a little bit, you'll see how that normally goes as far as those get announced. We have 8 houses announced for Orlando. This is primarily Orlando, so I apologize for any Hollywood people or Singapore or Japan people maybe watching the show. If you are, welcome in. Love you. So we have 8 houses announced. They announced all 5 original houses I haven't touched on that on this show because I do work with my buddies over there at Death Curse Club. We touched on that, and we have touched on the Hellraiser announcement, the third IP announcement for the event. Just real quick, I think the original houses are fun. I like that all of them are kind of themed something different, and it feels like its own little vibe to each one of them. I like that idea. HR Blood and Guts coming back is very interesting and all that stuff, and we'll talk about HR Blood and Guts on a later episode because I need to, dive into that character. That was a character that was around before I even was able to start going to Halloween Horror Nights. So I definitely want to look to the lore of that character a little bit more. And then Hellraiser being announced as the third IP. I don't have a massive connection to that IP, so I'm interested to see how that works. I'm going to watch the first three films. It has been announced that it is based on the trilogy, the first three films of the Hellraiser franchise. And it's announced that Bradley's coming back. Doug Bradley's doing of course, Pinhead will be doing vocal cues and all that stuff. And it sounds cool. It sounds awesome. Now, for those that aren't in the know, the Hellraiser films are very, shall we say, adult in what they do. And I've only seen that first movie, but so it's going to be interesting to see how that all works out. But be forewarned, if you're like me and you're going back to watch these movies, they're the adult side of things, if you will. So there you go. That's where we're at. We have 3 IPs announced, 5 original houses been announced. We don't have scare zones yet. We don't have shows yet, and we don't have food and all that stuff announced. There is some preview merch out there and all that stuff. We, for the IPs, Sinners, Stranger Things, that stuff is out there. The carousel stuff and new pieces for that are out with Pinhead and the Hellraiser shirt and all that stuff, man. So that's where we're at overall and everything. Now, without further ado, let me go ahead and get to my notes here because I'm not going to remember all this stuff off the top of my head. And let's jump into these trends. So like I said, we're going to go back the last 5 years. So that's going to take us back to HHN 30, the last anniversary year that we had before going into this anniversary year in Hollywood, Orlando. So HHN 30, the first announcement we had in July was July 8th. So on July 8th, and it was The Haunting of Hill House was announced as the second IP of the event. So we're already ahead of that, right? We're already on our third IP announcement already at this year. So we're already ahead of that. And then July 15th, they announced the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as well as Universal Monsters The Bride of Frankenstein Lives would be returning, because remember that was at the I can't remember what they call it. I always like to call it the Halloween Spectacular, the year where they opened a couple of houses during the terrible time of 2020, where things were closed down and we couldn't have the whole Halloween Horror Nights event. They did have a couple of houses that were open, and Universal Monsters was Bride of Frankenstein Lives was one of those, and that was brought back. So 2 announcements in July in HHN 30. All 3 IPs, but a couple announcements. But July 8th, July 15th, we're coming up on July 8th as they're recording this episode is July 3rd. As they release this episode is July what? When is July 6th? Would be when this releases this episode. So we'll see how that goes. HHN 31, only one announcement, man. And it was at the end of the month on July 26th. For HHN 31, they announced the Weekend After Hours as the 4th haunted house IP. So, we're at 3 right now. We're heading towards our 4th. But they also announced the multi-night tickets with the Weekend After Hours house, and also the returning Scare Actor Dining experience. Remember that? Remember they used to do Scare Actor Dining experience at Halloween Horror Nights, man? I miss it. It was a good time. There you go. Only one announcement. It was at the end of the month, man. So there you go. HHN 32. We had 2 announcements. Again, July 13th, we had Stranger Things Season 4, announced as the 3rd haunted house. And the multi-night passes were released, man. Multi-night passes were released for the event on July for the 3rd. So you notice the trend there. They normally release those passes with a big IP like The Weeknd. It's a big popular pop star, right? And then Stranger Things Season 4, Stranger Things, huge IP property and all that stuff. And they normally announce the multi-night tickets with that. And that's why we're kind of surprised when Stranger Things was announced this year and we didn't get the multi-night tickets, because that seemed like the big IP for it to go with, and they did not do that. So, and they did not release them with Hellraiser last week when that was announced. So, and then July 28th, so again, end of the month, we get The Exorcist Believer, and then they announce they're like screw it. On July 28th, 2023 for HHN 32. They're like, screw it, here, take it all. So they announced The Exorcist Believer and the remaining 6 haunted houses, 5 scare zones, and a show as well. They showed off the tribute store and Chucky's Twisted Playground over at Cabana. Remember when Cabana did the special room? They didn't do that last year. Hey, bring it back. We want it back. We want, hey, bring it back. Um, that's hilarious. I don't know if I like that, man. I like it when we announce something all throughout the week, like one a day throughout the week. I don't know if we like it. Hey, boom, there you go, all of it. Like give them some time to breathe or something, man. Maybe that's just me. Maybe people are into that. Who knows? But HHN 32, they were sick of it. They're like, hey, just take everything. All right, HHN 33, pretty good, solid month of July announcements there, man. So we're getting closer to time, right? HHN 33. So July 11th, they announced Insidious the Further, as well as the multi-night tickets released again. So let's travel back here. So July 13th, they announced the multi-night tickets. July 26th, they announced the multi-night tickets. So 13th and 26th so far, right? 13th, 11th, and 13th. So that's the close trend right there, right? Between the last from HHN 32 and HHN 33, the trend was into that kind of week. July 11th and 13th, they announced the multi-night tickets around there. So keep that in mind. With Insidious. So again, they drop it with a big IP name that'll bring in the attention, right? And then July 15th, they give us Torture Fair as the scare zone. July 16th, Swamp of the Undead scare zone. And then they jump to July 24th, where they give us Duality of Fear and Demon Queens scare zones. And then July 25th, they announce Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines as the final house for the event that year. So there you go. So they like to announce, so let's just look at the calendar right now. So they like to announce around like the third week of the month and the final week of the month is the trend I'm picking up on going through this. And then last year, HHN 34 was a packed year, my friends, as they announced on July 10th, they released the multi-night tickets for the event and announced Terrifier as a house. So again, multi-night tickets, second, third week of the month, right? So 10th, we've mentioned the 11th, we mentioned the 13th for when they like to drop those multi-night tickets. And it was again announced with an IP with Terrifier, which was a big name in horror at that point in time, right? So let's just gauge and think about that for a moment. There's 2 IP houses left, right? Rumors are Ozzy Osbourne and Evil Dead. Now, I think it's very obvious that Ozzy is the big IP between the two. So you would put the multi-night tickets with Ozzy and gives the most attention with Ozzy. With that said, the Evil Dead rumor, I believe, is around the movie that's coming out the week this is releasing, a couple days from this episode releasing. Evil Dead Burn releases in theaters. So, theming, trending, Evil Dead, they like to do announcements primarily on Thursday, so that would be Thursday, July 9th. Do you do it then? Or do you just wait till next week? On July 16th is that Thursday, where it's in that kind of teens area number that they like to announce things. Could it be then? Who knows? But obviously, we're close to an announcement with the multi-night tickets because again, we've mentioned multiple times here. It's announced with an IP, so we have 2 IPs left, and it's normally announced around like the 10th, 11th, 13th, somewhere around to that area, at least according to the last 5 years. And I would think, just in my noggin, front load it with obviously Ozzy's the bigger IP. But if you're going to announce an Evil Dead house, you announce it when the movie's coming out. Just front load it, right? Because if you can announce it after Evil Dead Burn comes out and all that stuff, but there could be people who see that movie and not like it, be like, I don't want to freaking go through that haunted house, man. That movie was blah. I doubt the movie will be blah. It looks very fun from the trailers I've seen. I am pretty, hyped to see it. I've already got my ticket and all that stuff. But I would say announce the house the same week the movie comes out. It just makes sense to do that. If you're going to announce Ozzy, at the end of the month kind of makes sense. Ozzy, we're coming up on the year anniversary of Ozzy's passing. Ozzy passed on July 22nd. And it seems kind of morbid to announce his haunted house that same day. But a couple days after that is a Thursday, and it will be the 24th. And if they want to announce it the same week as the year anniversary of his passing, like we lost the legendary Ozzy Osbourne a year ago, now relive at the premiere Halloween event and relive the history of the Prince of Darkness, and then announce that with the multi-night tickets. Because again, they have announced it. I mean, we got to go back to HHN 31, but the multi-night tickets were announced on July 26th, so it's not out of the question that they can announce them at the end of July, but they could, right? So we'll see how that goes. But the rest of July's announcements last year, July 14th, they gave us the Origins of Horror, Scare Zone. July 15th, they gave us Masquerade Dance of the Death, Dance with Death, Scare Zone. July 16th, they gave us the Cat Lady of Crooked Lane. What a freaking scare zone. Beautifully done. They announced that on July 16th. July 17th, they did Mutation Toxic 20's announcement. And that was just 4 scare zones, which is what they've kind of gone to at this point and what they're kind of doing now with the scare zones. Is they're doing 4 scare zones because the next thing they announce here, and I'm hopefully they're bringing these back, and it seems like one of them for sure is back based on what I've seen shared from the park construction that's going on. July 18th, they announced Mel's Die-In Zombies, which I assume would come back. I don't know why it wouldn't. But Club Horror was also announced, and we've already seen that construction in that same area is going on. It looks like they've got the DJ booth area set up and all that stuff set up. Basically, from the basic construction we've seen so far, Club Horror you would expect to be back. I would expect Mel's Dying. I don't think you really have to do anything. It was mostly just like waitresses and waiters with a zombified look carrying around like a foot or a body part or something. They could still easily do that in front of Mel's. You don't have to do like a whole construction in front of that. But look at that, man. That was a whole solid week of announcements right there, which again was the 3rd week of the month. So 3rd week of the month that's where we're at right now. And then, sorry, let's just finish this up. July 24th, they announced Nightmare Fuel, Circus of Decay, and Hauntaphonic, A Ghoulish Journey. And then on July 29th, they announced The Horrors of the Wyatt Six as the final haunted house of the event. Five Nights at Freddy's was fully revealed at that point, because remember last year they said, that was like the first thing they announced, Five Nights at Freddy's would be at HHN in a way you've never seen it before. But they didn't tell you what it was going to be. And eventually it was revealed as a haunted house. And then at the end of July, it was finally revealed, and it was also revealed at the Death Eaters Encounter would return, which has been there a couple of years, and it looks like it's going to be there again this year as the props and stuff is starting to hit Diagon Alley with all that, man. So July was a very busy month last year, and it could very well be a busy month again this year. I would say go ahead and get all that stuff announced this month as well. And then August, get us the food booths, man. That's all you really need to do in August. Give us the food booth stuff, because the event starts in August. Starts at the last week of August, right? Towards the end of August, but it starts in August. So you can hold an announcement for August maybe, but you got to get the multi-night tickets out, because again, the event starts in August, so you got to get the multi-night tickets out. And even not even that, like I don't know if they've announced it yet. I don't know off the top of my head, but last year, like the week before the event started, they opened up. I think it was the week, or maybe a couple of days before the event started. They opened up some of the houses for the Screams tour on the houses and take pictures and all that stuff. They opened that early, so again, you got to get the multi-night tickets out. So I think IP wise, Ozzy, I don't even know if these are the IPs, these are just the rumors, but I think Ozzy's the bigger IP. You would put the multi-night tickets with that, but the smart thing is to release the Evil Dead announcement with the Evil Dead movie releasing in theaters. And if we want to keep the trend, the multi-night tickets will be coming out this week as release this episode, since Evil Dead Burn comes out. If we're not going to do that, we're going to hold it towards the end of the month, to where you've announced before at least a house, the final house of the event before on July. We've said a couple times the trends here. You could do that with it being the Ozzy Osbourne house with the multi-night tickets. You've done that in the past. You can do it here as well. I hope they don't wait till the end of the month, because I'm ready to buy my multi-night ticket. But I think you look at the trends. Again, HHN 30, they gave us all the scare zones, and they gave us the final haunted house. final. That doesn't make sense. I'm missing something there. But they gave us all of the scare zone, or all of the scare zones last year in July, and um, HHN was all the scare zones. In the middle of July, HHN 34 they did the same exact thing. So I wouldn't expect because they're so random with the way they announce things, but you would kind of think they would go that same route of give them all the scare zones in 1 week during this. So let's just randomly think it out here. So release this episode, Evil Dead Burn releases. If Evil Dead Burn is one of the IPs for this year's event, I say you make that announcement this week. Then next week, you could, we've got a lot of time left in this month, man. So if you release that, then you can do the next week. You can do nothing if you wanted to. And then the 20th, the week of the 20th here, you could do, again, Ozzy passed on the 22nd. So if you want to kind of tie it in with his year of death anniversary, which again is morbid, but if you want to tie it in there, and if he is the IP, you can announce that on the 23rd. So the 9th, Evil Dead Burn IP house, if it's going to be there. And then 23rd, Ozzy Osbourne IP house and multi-night tickets, if it's going to be there. And then scare zones, you can give us all of them on the week of the 13th or the week of the 27th, whichever way you want to go with that. But they, again, and the shows, right? So it's 4 scare. We would expect 4 scare zones again. I think that's fine. And, the club horror thing and all that stuff. But there you go, man. That is, the trends and all that stuff. I don't know anything. I'm just riffing, and all that stuff. But, just based on the trends, it kind of seems how that would work itself out and all that stuff. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments and all that stuff. If Evil Dead's going to be housed, do you think it gets announced this week as a release of this episode with the release of that film in theaters and all that stuff? Or do you wait to think that they hold it? I wouldn't. If I was marketing, I wouldn't do that, but I'm not in the marketing team over there. And then do you think we get a whole week of scare zones again like we have the last 2 years? And the final, where do you think multi-night tickets are coming out? You think it's coming out with Evil Dead? You think it's coming out with Ozzy? Or either one of those IPs going to be here? Who knows, man? Some people know because they like to spoil those things. I don't. I like to wait for the official announcement, man. But I appreciate you watching this. Hope you had a good time here. I like to have fun on any of these shows I do. I do this. I do movie reviews. I just do this stuff out of freaking pure passion of wanting to do it, man. And I hope you have a good time with it. So I appreciate you all. As always, like I said earlier, you matter. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, week, month, year. And again, you're capable of great things. Just going forward. Just keep going forward. Work out for you the way it needs to work out for you. But as of this episode, we are done, man. We're very close to Halloween Horror Nights starting. We've got the rest of July to get through. And then next month in August, it will be here, my friends. Halloween Horror Nights is just around the corner of starting. If you got your premium Scream night or whatever, you're almost there, my friends. I still got a little bit of time before my trip and all that, but so excited, man. So excited. Can't wait. Halloween Horror Nights 35 here in Orlando is almost ready. Just, we're almost there, my friends. I appreciate you watching this, and I can't wait to talk more Halloween Horror Nights.